It's common in anime to have running gags. Slapstick and strong reactions are part of the culture. Anime has evolved into so much more than just media for children, but its foundational origin was targeting that specific audience. It's why big, exaggerated responses are so common. One of my more popular videos is a comparison between two characters that you could consider the coward archetype, Zenitsu from Demon Slayer and Stark from Frieren Beyond Journey's End. The comment section is filled with people arguing that Zenitsu's the reason they stopped watching, pointing out his character as grating and annoying. His loud, expressive outbursts, especially built around his fear, is meant to play for comedic relief. And some people do find it funny, but in the end I think it just hurts the story. So what happens when a comedy gag isn't just funny, it adds a lot. There's shocking amounts of depth. A simple gag built around a mage who's over 1,000 years old, constantly falling prey to the same old trap. Welcome to a running series called Exploring Frieren. My name is Pei, and today we're talking about how Frieren's mimic gag offers a surprising level of depth. 11 months ago, I released a video called The Paradox of Charming Character Flaws. In the video, I argued that Frieren, the namesake and protagonist of Frieren Beyond Journey's End, has a lot of compelling duality. Two defining traits that maybe contradict each other. Frieren absolutely on paper falls into that tsundere archetype. She has white hair, she's cold and removed, and constantly navigating with an air of mystery and nonchalance. Now that archetype is contrasted with the fact that Frieren's actually very expressive when it comes to things that are non-normative. She loves little trinkets and treasures. She dances and sings with excitement when she finds them. This expressive nature is very grounding not only for her archetype, but also her role in the story. This whole show takes place after the hero's journey, where her party of 4 saved the world from the Demon King. In a lot of ways, she's legendary. Frieren is a complex character with so much to offer, and part of that is represented in this running gag that starts in the very first episode. Mimics, or monsters that pretend to be chess, are a common trope in fantasy. You can find references to this trap in all sorts of fantasy media: Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Delicious in Dungeon or Dungeons and Dragons. From anime to video games to tabletop board games, this is more than just a trope, it's a cliché. But something Frieren has consistently showcased is its ability to take worn-out tropes and find new, interesting ways to explore them. And it takes most of the season before it becomes apparent that Frieren's running mimic gag is actually much deeper. So let's understand that in 3 parts. In a vast majority of media, dungeons are represented as dangerous, dark, and scary. There are strong associations we have with something like a dungeon. I mean, think about its origin outside of fantasy, a medieval, dangerous prison. Now, generally speaking, there's 2 ways to engage in strong associations: use it to your advantage or subvert it. Frieren tends to actually do both, often embracing tropes and then finding new ways to explore them later. This is true of dungeons and Frieren's personality. Her character loves trinkets. It's a quirk of hers that's consistent throughout the entire show and helps make her so charming. Like I argued earlier, it balances her otherwise cold persona. When it comes to any little magical trinket, she's expressive and exaggerated. She carries a trunk full of them. This runs perfectly in conjunction with the running gag of her falling for mimics. Who would expect a legendary mage from the former hero's party to fall prey to the most simple of tricks? Now, one of the main criticisms I've seen levied at this show is the characters being uninteresting, which I think is a fair first impression. But something that became abundantly clear to me is as the story went on, the characters got more and more interesting, in small entertaining ways and in big ones too. And this mimic thing is a perfect example because it's more than just a trope, it's a cliché, playing on the fact that human greed is an incredibly easy way to set up a trap. And at first, that seems to be the core of what's going on with Frieren, but this show has layers. Later it's revealed that there are a couple more steps to this entire process. Frieren does something that I've noticed a lot of my favorite stories doing lately, creating fun, engaging stories that use serious topics and occasionally dip into treating that serious topic with a lot of respect. Frieren's a story built around recontextualizing a previous grand adventure with a new one. They lived in a very violent world. This show doesn't shy away from that, but it does find ways to still keep the general vibe lighthearted, keeping track of its central tone, and that's demonstrated really beautiful in Frieren's love for dungeons. Later in the story, there's this mage exam, and the second part of it involves exploring a dungeon. Which brings up this question of why does Frieren love dungeons as much as she does? Before exploring a flashback, a conversation between Himmel and Frieren. Multiple times up to this point in the series, we've seen a couple pretty serious moments the hero's party had to work through in their adventure. This scene juxtaposes that, demonstrating what personality could actually withstand that hardship, the difficulty of being someone that's trying to save the world. A major theme in this story is Himmel demonstrating that the little moments matter as much as the big, that the process is just as important as the destination. So in this flashback where Himmel wants to explore every corner of the dungeon before moving on to its lowest level, stating that he's going to embrace every little component that makes him love adventuring, that he's going to enjoy this, and one day, before he even realizes it, save the world, it ties to so many major components in the story. Frieren's entire character arc is built around an inciting incident where she didn't properly value the time she spent with those around her. This new journey is meant to recontextualize all of those little moments that she didn't even know to pay attention to. It's just the first part of what makes this mimic gag so interesting, because it's all kind of tied together thematically. And then it's followed by another scene, which is even more interesting, answering that question of why does Frieren keep falling prey to the mimic gag? In Frieren's 23rd episode, there's a moment where Frieren reveals that there's a spell that up to 99% accuracy can determine whether or not a chest is a mimic. In that moment, Frieren and Frieren are staring down another chest, and Frieren starts this little monologue, stating that great mages make discoveries in that 1%. They're not deterred by the unsurmountable. It's honestly pretty striking. And then she finishes it by saying her intuition's right this time, that this chest has a magical grimoire that will make it all worth it. It's part of the 1%. It's this kind of beautiful little moment, capturing that passion that Frieren carries in exploring the magical unknown. And right after that cool little moment, Frieren once again finds herself trapped by a mimic. I felt like the humor played perfectly, allowing you to come up for air, while still letting the significance of what she just argued sit. Part of what really drew me to Frieren was the way they explored this everlasting elf archetype. It feels like a beautiful storytelling structure to create compelling, complex characters, but every time I'm introduced to another version of it, I find it underwhelming. I do not feel that way about Frieren. I love her archetype. To me, it's a fundamental part of what makes this story work. There was this old comment that argued beautifully that Frieren isn't just old, she's lived an incredibly long youth. Think about for a second what a 1% chance represents for someone that's going to be opening thousands of chests across their life. Frieren's arc, like most good ones, is built around growth, heavily impacted by her status as elf, taking that wake-up call and listening. Part of the reason this story is so outstanding is because of all the different ways that character struggles are representative of the human condition, struggles that most people have to face at one point or another in their life. Lessons for both old and young, experienced and green, and they implement them so casually, so expertly, sneaking them in everywhere. In the big moments and small, like the tragedy of losing a loved one or refusing to pass up on a 1% chance. Depth in so many different creases of the story. It's why I love talking about this show. It feels like everywhere I look, I find something interesting that carries weight and depth. So cheers to the Frieren mimic gag. Beautiful writing where I least expected it.